Do you think the 1987 film Predator is just another action movie from the 80s? A simple tale of commandos facing an alien hunter in the jungle? What if I told you the truth is far more disturbing? That the film wasn't just entertainment, but a carefully constructed warning, a way to prepare us for something the government couldn't openly admit was real? The story begins in 1968, deep in the jungles of Vietnam. A special forces unit led by Captain Richard Hollister disappeared during a routine extraction operation. Nothing unusual during wartime, except for how they were found 3 days later. 7 elite soldiers hanging from trees, skinned completely. Their weapons were intact. No enemy forces were detected in the area. The official report cited Viet Cong guerrillas, but the field surgeon's notes, classified until 1998, told a different story. No human tool could make these incisions. The precision suggests mechanical origin. The bodies were completely drained of blood with no evidence of where it went. 2 weeks later, a 3-man reconnaissance team was deployed to the same location. They never returned. Search parties found only a single dog tag belonging to Private James Elkins. The metal was partially melted in a pattern that metallurgists at Fort Detrick couldn't identify with any known weapon. The incidents were buried in classified files, forgotten, or at least that's what they wanted. In 1972, a similar event occurred in Cambodia. 5 soldiers separated from their unit were discovered in a clearing, skinned, hanging, their spinal columns and skulls removed with surgical precision. A local villager reported seeing lights like angry fireflies in the jungle the night before. He claimed to have seen a shadow that bent the trees moving through the canopy. The man disappeared 3 days after his testimony. By 1975, the Pentagon had compiled a classified dossier codenamed Forest Hunter, documenting 13 similar incidents across Southeast Asia. Each followed the same pattern: elite military units, remote locations, bodies displayed in trees, specific organs removed. In each case, witnesses reported unusual heat signatures, strange lights, or distortions in the jungle canopy. Every witness who provided detailed descriptions died or disappeared within a week of their testimony. Dr. Eleanor Frakes, a forensic anthropologist consulting for DARPA, examined photographic evidence from 3 incidents. Her report, only declassified in 2011 through a FO request that was clearly filed incorrectly, concluded, "These are not human kills. The pattern suggests hunting trophies. Whatever did this was collecting specimens." 3 days after submitting her report, Dr. Frakes was killed in what was officially ruled a home invasion. Nothing was stolen. The intruder seemed only interested in her files. The pattern went dormant for almost a decade. The files gathered dust in Pentagon storage. Until Guatemala, 1982. A unit of CIA-backed Guatemalan special forces went missing during an operation against insurgents in the northern jungle province of Petén. 2 weeks later, a farmer discovered their remains, 8 men, skinned, hanging from the ancient ceiba trees. Their weapons were still clutched in their hands, unfired. The farmer reported seeing a demon made of glass moving through the trees the night before. Guatemalan authorities dismissed his account as superstition. The farmer and his family disappeared 3 days later. The CIA officer assigned to investigate, Thomas Schaefer, found unusual tracks near the site, 3-toed impressions over 20 inches long that suddenly appeared and disappeared as if whatever made them had dropped from the trees or ascended into the air. Schaefer's report included an unusual detail. The jungle was silent. No birds, no insects, nothing living within a half-mile radius of the site. Schaefer requested permission to expand his investigation. He was recalled to Langley instead. His personnel file shows he took early retirement 3 months later, moving to a remote cabin in Alaska. He was found dead in 1984, an apparent suicide. His journal, discovered by his sister, contained hundreds of pages about the hunter and increasingly paranoid notes about being watched through his windows at night. Then came 1985, the turning point. A helicopter carrying a Dutch Special Forces team crashed in the remote jungle of Suriname, near the border with Brazil. When a search team reached the site 3 days later, they found something that couldn't be hidden from the public. 4 bodies, skinned and hanging from trees, 3 missing entirely. The helicopter was intact, no mechanical failure, no evidence of conventional weapons fire. The Dutch government demanded answers. Major Alan Schaefer, no relation to Thomas Schaefer, led the U.S. military investigation team, accompanied by CIA liaison George Dillon. Both men had extensive jungle warfare experience. Their official mission: determine if Soviet-backed insurgents were operating in the region. Their actual mission, according to documents later found in Dillon's personal safe: confirm or deny forest hunter activity. Neither returned. The 7-man team sent after them disappeared as well. What happened in that jungle was too big to contain. Too many personnel lost, too many questions from Dutch officials. The Pentagon needed a solution. Enter John McTiernan, a young director looking for his big break in Hollywood. In September 1985, he was approached by producer Joel Silver with a script called Hunter. Silver claimed it came to him through unusual channels. The screenplay, originally credited to Jim and John Thomas, underwent significant rewrites by uncredited military technical advisors. The production moved quickly, suspiciously quickly for Hollywood. Filming locations in Mexico were secured through unusual diplomatic channels. Military hardware was provided with minimal paperwork. Most telling. According to production assistants who later spoke anonymously, certain scenes were already storyboarded before McTiernan was even hired. Specifically, the scenes depicting the skinned bodies hanging from trees. Arnold Schwarzenegger, the film's star, later recalled something strange during an obscure 1998 interview with a German film magazine. There were military advisors everywhere. They kept showing us very specific details about how the bodies should look, how they should hang. Too specific. When I asked where these references came from, they changed the subject. One night after filming, one of them got drunk and told me, "This isn't a movie, it's a warning." Schwarzenegger has never repeated this story and denies making these comments when asked. The film Predator was released in 1987, disguised as science fiction entertainment. It contained specific details that match the classified Forest Hunter files: heat vision technology, treetop movement, trophy collection, spine removal, and the 3-dot targeting system. The latter detail is particularly disturbing as it appears nowhere in any public record before the film's release, yet matches descriptions in Thomas Schaefer's personal journal and a sketch found in Dr. Frakes' files. Was Predator just a movie? Or was it the military's way of revealing a truth too terrible to acknowledge officially? Consider the evidence that emerged after the film's release. In 1989, a team of British SAS operators disappeared during a counterinsurgency operation in Sierra Leone. Their bodies were found displayed exactly like those in the film. The British government classified all records of the incident until 2055. In 1991, during Operation Desert Storm, 3 U.S. Marine Force recon scouts vanished while on a night patrol near the Kuwait-Iraq border. Their thermal imaging equipment was found melted in a pattern identical to damage described in the Forest Hunter files. Their bodies were discovered 2 days later, skinned and hanging from a water tower. The incident was attributed to Iraqi special forces, despite the fact that no Iraqi troops were operating in the sector. The Marine who discovered the bodies, Sergeant Carlos Ramirez, requested transfer immediately after the incident. In his personal correspondence, recently released by his family after his suicide in 2004, he wrote, "It wasn't human. I saw it moving across the desert, like heat waves bending the air, but shaped like a man. Too tall, too fast. I fired at it. My bullets hit nothing. It looked at me. 3 red dots appeared on my chest, then moved away. It let me live. I don't know why." These incidents continued. Somalia, 1993, Colombia, 1997, Afghanistan, 2002. Each carefully hidden among the chaos of conventional warfare. But the most compelling evidence comes from the film industry itself. In 1996, screenwriter Shane Black was hired to work on a sequel. Black had actually appeared as an actor in the original Predator film. During research for his script, he requested access to the original production notes. What he found disturbed him enough that he altered his screenplay significantly, incorporating elements that suggested multiple predator species and an organized hunting culture. According to an assistant who worked with Black, he received unusual late-night phone calls during this period. After one such call, Black told his assistant, "They're telling me what I can and can't include. These aren't studio notes." The caller identified himself as DOD. Predator 2, released in 1990, expanded the mythology in ways that seem oddly specific. The creature's interest in heat and conflict zones, the collection of skulls from different species, the implication of repeated visits to Earth across centuries. When interviewed about the film years later, director Stephen Hopkins mentioned being shown reference materials by technical advisors that weren't standard Hollywood fare. They had these detailed descriptions of trophy-taking behavior, specific methods of skinning and displaying kills. When I asked where it came from, I was told it was based on actual field observation. I assumed they meant from wildlife studies. Now I'm not so sure. By the early 2000s, the pattern had evolved. The Predator franchise became a way to hide the truth in plain sight, updating the public on new information while maintaining plausible deniability. The 2004 film Alien vs. Predator introduced the concept that these entities had visited Earth throughout human history, a detail that aligned with new evidence found at archaeological sites in Cambodia, Guatemala, and Egypt between 1998 and 2002. Each site contained unusual hieroglyphs and pictographs showing tall, masked figures with tendrils emerging from their heads, hunting humans. Mainstream archaeology dismissed these as representations of tribal shamans or deities. Carbon dating, however, placed these images from different continents within the same 100-year period around 3000 BCE, a statistical impossibility without contact between these civilizations or a common source. Dr. William Myers, who studied these images, published a paper suggesting they represented an actual contact event with non-human entities. His academic career ended shortly afterward. He disappeared while on a research trip in Brazil in 2005. His body was never found, but his camera was recovered. The last image showed 3 red dots forming a triangle pattern on his tent wall. The most disturbing connection, however, emerged in 2008. NASA's thermal imaging satellites detected an anomalous heat signature in the remote Congo basin. A special forces team was deployed under the guise of an anti-poaching operation. Satellite communication was lost for 72 hours. When re-established, only one soldier remained alive, Corporal Rebecca Wilkins. Her debriefing remains classified, but a medical report leaked in 2012 documented unusual radiation burns on her skin and a pattern of 3 circular scars on her forehead. Her psychological evaluation noted severe PTSD and repeated mentions of them watching us for sport. Wilkins was discharged on medical grounds and moved to a remote town in Alaska, the same town where Thomas Schaefer had lived years earlier. In 2010, she granted a single interview to a documentary filmmaker exploring remote communities. When asked why she chose such an isolated location, her answer was chilling. "They don't hunt here. It's too cold. They see in heat. If they can't see you, they can't hunt you." The documentary was never completed. The filmmaker disappeared while traveling back from Alaska. His equipment was found in his hotel room, the memory cards missing. The most recent confirmed incident occurred in 2018 in Venezuela. A team of British petroleum engineers went missing near the Colombian border. Search teams found their camp intact, equipment operational, food still warm, no signs of struggle. 2 kilometers away, they discovered the bodies, skinned, hanging from trees, their skulls and spines removed. Venezuelan authorities blamed drug cartels, but leaked autopsy reports described non-conventional incisions made by an unidentified tool capable of cutting through bone with no microfractures or pressure damage. The same description appears in the 1968 field surgeon's notes from Vietnam. In 2022, the Pentagon quietly established a new division within SOCOM, Special Operations Command. Its official purpose, to investigate and counter unconventional tactical threats in remote environments. Its unofficial designation, according to internal documents, Hunter Response Team. The division recruited from elite units across all branches. The selection criteria were unusual. extensive night operation experience, advanced thermal countermeasure training, and perhaps most telling, psychological profiles showing high adaptation capacity to impossible scenarios. Meanwhile, Hollywood continued the pattern of revelation through fiction. The 2010 film Predators introduced the concept of an alien game preserve where humans were collected and hunted, a detail that aligned with survivor accounts describing sensation of being observed like animals in a zoo before attacks occurred. The 2018 film The Predator suggested genetic modification and evolution of the hunters, precisely when classified reports began describing variant entities with different physical characteristics from the original encounters. Most specifically, the film introduced the idea of predators taking DNA from conquered species, a detail that appeared in a classified 2016 DNA analysis of unusual tissue samples found at a killing site in Myanmar. Each film adds pieces to the puzzle, revealing what the authorities know but cannot acknowledge. This brings us to now, December 2025. The pattern is accelerating. In the past 18 months, there have been 7 documented disappearances of military and paramilitary units in remote locations across 5 continents. The incidents show familiar signatures, heat anomalies, unusual atmospheric disturbances, and bodies displayed as trophies. What's different is the scale. The hunters are growing bolder, taking larger groups. The most recent incident in the Amazon involved 17 Brazilian environmental protection officers. More disturbing still are the evolutionary changes. Survivors now report multiple types of hunters working in coordinated groups. Their technology has advanced. Their trophy taking has become more selective. They're learning, adapting, studying us. The information control is breaking down. Too many incidents, too many witnesses, too many connections for those willing to look. The fiction can no longer contain the truth. Consider what I've shared with you, the pattern spanning decades, the specific details hidden in plain sight through Hollywood productions, the disappeared researchers and witnesses, the consistent wound patterns and display methods, the government units specifically tasked with responding to these encounters. Why am I telling you this? Because knowledge is protection. The hunters operate in shadows, selecting targets who are unaware, unprepared. They value the sport, the challenge of the hunt. Prey that recognizes the predator changes the dynamic. But there's another reason, more troubling. The hunters don't just watch their prey. They study our reactions to their hunts, our fear, our understanding. They monitor our communications, our entertainment, our discussions about them, which means they're probably watching this right now. They're assessing how you receive this information, whether you dismiss it as fiction or recognize the truth, whether you're worthy prey or too easily frightened. Every comment you leave, every reaction you share, every discussion you have about this topic, they're collecting that data, refining their understanding of human psychology. The films weren't just warnings to us, they were messages to them. A way of saying, we know you're here. We understand what you're doing. Some of us are ready to fight. The hunters respect worthy adversaries. They follow a code, evidenced by consistent patterns across encounters spanning centuries. They don't kill the unarmed or the sick. They collect trophies only from the strongest, most dangerous prey. They sometimes spare those who show exceptional courage or cunning. This is why Dutch survived in the original film. Not just as a Hollywood ending, but as a documentation of actual hunter behavior observed in real encounters. The character's survival strategy, covering himself in mud to mask his heat signature, setting traps using the environment, mirrors the actual tactics that saved Rebecca Wilkins in the Congo. So what happens now? What should you do with this information? First, understand that these encounters follow patterns. They occur in remote locations. They target armed groups, military units, security forces, well-equipped expeditions. If you're reading this in an urban area, your risk is minimal. Second, they hunt by heat signature. Thermal masking works. This isn't science fiction. It's documented across multiple survivor accounts. Third, and most important, they're watching for those who understand, those who see past the fiction to the truth, those who might present worthy challenges. If you've watched to the end of this video, if you've absorbed this information without dismissing it, you're already on their radar. This is where most would ask you to like and subscribe, to share this video with others. I'm asking the opposite. If you understand what I've shared, if you recognize the pattern, say nothing. Share nothing. Leave no digital footprint of your awareness. Comment only with "just another movie" to hide your understanding while alerting others who know. The hunters respect worthy prey, but they eliminate threats to their sport. Every researcher who came too close to the truth has disappeared. Every witness who spoke too clearly is gone. I've compiled this information at great risk. By the time you see this, I'll have relocated to a location with minimal heat signatures. Deep underground. Far from wireless signals or surveillance. Remember, they don't just hunt with their eyes. They monitor our communications. They watch for those who watch for them. One final thought. The next time you feel unusually warm at night, the next time you notice 3 small red dots of light on your wall, the next time you hear sounds on your roof, or sense something watching you from just beyond the light, remember what you've learned. They aren't myths. They aren't movies. They're here, hunting, watching. And now they know that you know, just another movie.